very tense and focused, talking to himself. Both players getting in the zone here as we get into map number 1.
In the bottom right from NC Sports, he is Serral. And in the top left in the blue from Kaisi Gaming, this is Innovation.
Ephemeron to kick things off in this Terran versus Zerg. Innovation, a big fan recently with those 8 barracks pushes. We've seen a lot of that. Just one factory producing tanks all game long, 8 barracks, and a huge stream of bio just parading across the map. Seems like a pretty good map to start with that sort of strategy here on Ephemeron. It's definitely one of the maps where we've seen it have success before.
Yeah, it's not as long as a walk. It feels like it is, or it is, but there are actually some unupgraded marine walks as well that you just go across the map with a few factory units and just DPS down early hatcheries. That's like an uncommon thing. Stuff like that, of course, Serral is, you know, a previous world champion, something that Innovation hasn't been able to add to his accolade of many, many, many results and awards, is he has never been a world champion. And part of the reason why Serral has been a world champion is not only because mechanically, multitasking, everything he has a 10 out of 10 stat in, he also prepares so well for his opponents. No doubt he has watched all of Innovation's VODs recently from the tournaments. And hopefully, even though I know Inno likes to flex a little bit and not take the foreigners too seriously, it would be suicidal to not prepare for Serral.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody comes in here, even before the tournament begins. I think he's the player who you think about, and you have some idea of some of the tricks you might pull out of that bag if you do face off against him. And definitely something you'll have to keep in mind here. Thinking, of course, about the one series Serral lost in this tournament was to Hurricane, and it was mostly due to his scouting being blocked, especially by Phoenix plays. So obviously a different matchup, but really I feel that Serral, normally his strength is his scouting. The fact that he always sees what's going on and he absolutely respects it. Even though we think of him as a large, kind of long-term macro player, I feel like all the other Zergs end up taking a lot more risks in their play. Serral, if he sees that you're being aggressive, he will 100% adapt and react his play to it. He will, if he feels the need to, stay on a much lower work account, build a lot of army, and really just work around stopping what you want to achieve in the game, rather than going on autopilot. Serral doesn't get caught out if he can get the information to do that.
And speaking of trying to get something done, Innovation going for a really quick third command center here. A greedy open from the Terran. One of the greediest you can go for without just opening yourself up to death from the Zerg. The Reaper's still alive here, dancing with the Zerg units. Just trying to get his scout off and jumping up into the main, but Serral doing a great job zoning there. There's nothing really to scout for Innovation. You know, Innovation, the scouting is key. You want to see the gases, you want to see the drones, where they are, if anything gets plopped, and lair timing, all this sort of stuff. At the moment, though, as we know with our cast cams, everything very stock standard here from Serral.
Yeah, and Serral would love to get the information on that, but with no Overlord speed on the way, Game 1 not crazy safe on the information. Serral not going to know about the third command center, won't be able to adapt to it, but at the same time, because he isn't going for any big expenditure, no Overlord sacrifices, no speed Overlord, he does have a bit more money to play with. So assuming he can deflect these Hellions well, it's all about Serral droning up that third base nice and quickly and then jumping up to a fourth base and protecting it. The third command center, you still see stim quite early. You're going to see a quick second and third barracks pumping out Marines, and that really is the threat with this. It's not just the fact that the third command center is down early, it's just the fact that because the Hellion production stops, because there's no starport production, the Terran gets the Marines and medevacs across the map very early, and if they can put a dent in your creep, maybe even snipe down a fourth base, from there the Terran gets very out of control. So Serral, he's just got to kind of focus on getting all the basics set up and well defended, because those Marines pushing across the map are going to come very early.
Nice pick off on that Overlord for Inno, but Serral also getting a few kills there himself, grabbing the Reaper and one of the 2 Hellions for Innovation. His lair is on the way, grabbing those extra gases as well. It's been all about the minerals here for the Finnish Zerg. So he's been trying to get his economy looking quite strong, which it absolutely is at the moment. Pig is absolutely right. There is a timing here for the Terran with this build, where there are going to be a lot of Marines with medevac support, and you can just fall over and die. But that is something that you would normally say of another Zerg. Serral's scouting usually pretty on key. However, Innovation's been doing a good job at denying it so far.
The third and fourth gas now going down for Serral as well. working up his tech tree. We are seeing the faster lair and Baneling nest variation. This means Serral is going to go for an early Baneling speed, allowing him to jump on top of any fast pushes and shut them down. This is a safer way of playing. It does delay his upgrades. So Innovation going to have a large upgrade lead. To use this correctly, though, Serral is going to need to establish map control and get more creep spread than he would in a normal game. Use the Baneling speed to really shut down the early pressures and just cover the map in that infestation.
Confirming the third base here does Serral as the Lynx pull back away from the Hellions. Doesn't want to throw any units away unnecessarily. His double Evo is about to kick in for 1-1. Baneling speed starting as soon as the Lair and Baneling nest are done. There are the Zerg upgrades kicking in. Innovation with a well-timed armory as well. His upgrade is going to be looking great if he can keep on that. That's going to finish right when 1-1's done, so the Terran can immediately go into 2-2 upgrades for his bio. And then, you know what? You were talking about that creep spread. It looks pretty decent at the moment here for Serral.
And I like the non-stop link production right now. Some people would say, why not go to 70, 75 drones, drone up the 4th mineral line? But Serral is looking for map dominance and control. Rather than giving Innovation an opening and then letting him start to run away with the game, he is in fact just going to focus on having enough units to shut down this first pressure. His creep wants to be completely uninterrupted.
He does have a bunch of Lings moving out onto the map here to attack the third base of Innovation. He knows about the drop of the Overseer, saw it, and Serral is making a lot of units back at home. Good defense from Innovation, taking very small damage from that Ling.
Double drop moving in on the natural. Lings
right on
aren't far away at all. Perfectly timed here by Innovation, but the Lings on top of it shut it down. A few Marines fall. Serral's creep still moving across the map, and that is, of course, the big problem for Innovation. As this game progresses, we've seen this move towards Terrans trying to drop straight into the mineral lines, and only then off the back foot of that try to rotate around. Right now, though, another push moving down the left-hand side. There's tanks and medevacs over there as well. That's a very scary push moving towards Serral's 4th.
It certainly is, and that's where the creep is the weakest. Speaking of which, Innovation working on it to the north side here. The north right side of Serral's creep spread is getting gunned down by his Marines. Baneling's getting a decent connection there on 4 or so Marines, but the left side is the big story. The 4th hatchery of Serral is left wide open.
Counter Baneling drop in position. It's going to hit the third base while this is going down. There's a ton of Zergling, Baneling, Queen here. And I think with only one tank, I think Serral's good to jump on this. He can just take this out.
Oh, he's going for a flank.
Yeah, he's got to be decisive with it, and I like it. Just setting up a flank, always good up against the Terran push, only trickling a few Banelings into it, and now he closes the fist. There we go, quick pick up from Inno, but at the same time, a few SCVs go down at time. Good crisis management from Inno, though. That red hit point medevac could have been sniped by the Queens, but quick reactions as always from the Terran.
Serral has split up his forces. Nice target firing on that single Baneling there of Innovation, but doesn't quite get the trigger on that other Baneling. His bio being looked at here. Innovation doing a great job at keeping his forces alive and keeping the medevacs alive as well. A constant thorn in the side here of the Zerg. And even though he did get hit in that mineral line, he is still kicking in. What is the production on these tanks? Are these tanks stuck? Contamination from Serral to get into the tank count. Very nice play there from the Zerg. You don't see that from many Zergs at this level.
Yeah, there's a bug right now with the production overlay where contaminated buildings and depowered structures show up as it building twice until that wears off. So still is just one factory play here for Innovation, but lots of Marine Marauder production coming in. And the Zerglings looking for a big run by. They do find the wall there. No Banelings with them just yet to bust it down. But they do catch up. The wall's down.
And there's not much left here from Innovation. Serral knocking on that front door and he's knocking hard. Bringing in those Banelings. He wants those SCVs. He wants those mules. Small clusters of Marines are not going to be enough. There's some nice connection. Six SCVs go down. The mules as well being pulled up the line. Innovation's push out on the map being pulled way back, giving Serral a lot more room to breathe.
That one Marauder standing between the depot and the barracks actually survived the entire push there, watching it happen, but unfortunately just couldn't dish out enough damage to do anything about it. Innovation's whole army got pulled home. In the meantime, Serral's creep has spread across the map. These Queens, of course, the backbone of that, quickly get home. Mauling Bane coming in with a backstab once again. Serral on 80 workers. He's built that economy up to the next level. Innovation still just stuck down on 55.
A lot of Zergs will see this move out from Innovation and freak out, bring everything back, but Serral knows that he has room to actually grab some Lings and send them across the map to hurt the Terran, punish him for moving out of the map. And he's going to even grab a tank here with those Banelings and a cluster of Marines. More damage at that third for Serral. Not a ton of SCV kills, but Innovation's economy nowhere near that 80 drone economy of the Zerg. But this push could potentially start to tip the scales towards the Terran's favor.
He's lost track of that army, only now realizing it's there as the scan goes down. But a great big Zergling attack on the north side. Serral once again setting up a flank on his 4th base. He's got to keep it alive. The third of Innovation is getting ransacked. He's desperate. Innovation has to do more damage right now.
Serral wants to send the Banelings in, but a lot of these Marines are off creep. This might actually be a bold maneuver, but both Banelings getting into the north side. with so many more units coming in. I don't know why I doubted him. They come in from the north, from that ramp, smash that Marine count, and he has done way more critical damage to the economy of Innovation. Can he keep this hatchery alive? The answer is yes.
Yeah, hitting the third base on the north, defending on the south at the same time. A great flank, as always. The creep spread in front of this fourth, almost non-existent. Innovation is being relentless with this pressure and still maintains an army advantage. But unlike some of his other games, no 3-3 on the way. And he is trailing at just 41 SCVs to 79 drones. The Hive is almost here. Serral on 6 hatchery production, going up to 7 hatcheries. Oh, and Lings find the fresh mule drop.
Very frustrating here for Innovation, splitting his units as best he can. He is off creep. This is the best possible scenario, but there's just too many Banelings, and the right side doesn't even get looked at. Innovation wiped off the face of the map here by Serral's defenses.
Yeah, just too strong. Serral there, able to swamp those forces. His creep spread here now will be able to resume. He's got too much economy. He's got too much of the map, and that was a good game one for Serral.
GG. It felt like Innovation really wanted to make something happen with a tank timing there with upgrades, but that Massling Bane style, I feel if you're a Terran that doesn't have that second factory with a reactor, you don't have drilling claws up, you just can't deal with that much Ling Bane. It's just too hard.
I think this was perfect preparation from Serral. If we go back and rewind in our heads to that first push, a single tank, a ton of Marines, a few Hellbats, 2 medevacs pressuring on the other side of the map. This is a point where most Zerg players are going up to 70, 75, 80 drones. Serral sitting on 60 workers and only 4 gases. No Spire, no Hydroden. This was the safest, lowest economy play you'd normally see from Serral, but it's because he knows Innovation loves these sorts of attacks, and he knew he just needed to have an abundance of Ling Bane. If he could shut down that first tank push on the bridge, his creep could keep resuming, he could get on top of it, and from there, the droning really exploded. So, I mean, great. Almost trigger discipline on the droning button there for Serral, just holding back the drones until he shut down Innovation's first wave of pressure.
That is one of the intricate things, and one of the big differences between a good Zerg and a great Zerg is knowing exactly when to drone and when not to. Great stuff there from Serral, who is, of course, one of the greatest, if not the greatest.
Yeah, he's so good at that ability to, like I said, it's funny because I sometimes get, if I look at the end of the games, you think Serral's the macro god. He's always at 85 workers. He's always at 80. But it's how he gets there. And he often does drone a little bit slower than other players because he just makes sure he can take those efficient fights. You know, the difference between, say, having 20 Zerglings less or a few drones more in a battle is huge. 20 more Zerglings often means you're wrapping around those tanks and sniping them before they get the third volley off. It means you're wrapping around the Marines so they can't escape the Banelings. Serral knows that there's just as much to be gained from having units out at the right time as there is workers, and he seems to be so good at mapping it out in his head. Not sure if that was something, as soon as he knew about the third command center, he thought that was coming, or this was just his way of saying, you know what, game one in a series, I want to get in my rhythm, I want to get my momentum going. Let's play extra safe here. Let's make sure I can shut down the first big pressure. Let's not rush into the drones on the fourth. If that was his thought process and it wasn't even reactive, that is awesome planning from Serral.
And we are going to go into map number 2. It's going to be Eternal Empire, a massive rush distance on this map. Normally the Roog, the Zerg, a lot more room. It takes a little bit longer for the Terran to get across the map. We see a little bit more mech from certain Terrans on this map as well, as it does have a lot of choke points, high grounds, valleys, and just, of course, being able to rally with bio on this map is a little bit tougher, but you certainly see it for players like Innovation. These players seem to really not like mech as much at the moment.
Absolutely. The cliffs, definitely areas of utility here on this map as we launch into map number 2. And down here in the bottom left-hand side of the map, representing ENCE Esports in the red, it's Serral.
Ooh, that was a doom zoom right there. I wasn't ready for that one, but you know what? I like it. Thank you, production. And it's up right here in the blue from KaiZ Gaming. It is the Terran player, Innovation. It's a Starcraft tournament. I love a good doom zoom.
I like it when it's really shaky as well, you know? You feel like the ship's under attack almost, or on the bridge. It's always cool, though, here to see a big map like Eternal Empire, because Innovation, he's shown a lot of bio so far. He's shown some early Raxes a few weeks back, a month ago. It was all about that mech play for Innovation. It's something he excels at. Took down players like Rogue, just absorbing wave after wave of late game pressure. But if you talk to the EU players, they say the Nidus Swarmhost is so good against mech. A lot of the Terran players aren't really doing it. Flip side of that is Serral won't have much practice against it.
That is true. It just feels like one of those things that, you know, the Swarm Host Nidus thing hasn't been dealt with yet, but there is potential for it to be dealt with. You know, even theory crafting, you could just maybe throw in a few more Hellbats, be a little bit more careful about when you move out, or have a certain timing where the Swarm Host Nidus Worm's not going to be as potent, so you can punish the Zerg for making Swarm Host Nidus Worm, because they're not going to have anything back at home, really. There is a lot to work with. It's one of the wonderful things about StarCraft 2 is that the game and the meta just changes organically over time with maps, and just players getting more time to figure things out. So many tools at your disposal in the game. These two gentlemen here in this game, two of the best handymen with those tools.
SCV Scout out of Innovation, going to come across the map. See if he goes to block the third base or returns home. Looks like just a straight return home, confirming that there is nothing too cheeky coming out of Serral just yet.
Yeah, just making sure it's hatchery first there. If you go down and you don't see a hatchery finishing up and you're get those alarm bells ringing as a Terran, you start to think about getting your static defenses down there, or perhaps changing your add-ons to try and deal with whatever early pressure comes out from the Zerg. Serral avoiding the Reaper right now with that drone, waiting for 300 minerals.
So with that SCV heading to the very top center of the map, is this Proxy Fusion Core Battlecruiser?
That would make sense. This is a really, really weird spot to put a starport. His factory's already in production, so it does seem like it, but the thing is, you got to make a starport first.
The Overlord also saw the SCV heading in an odd direction. Serral not one to usually miss a piece of information like that, so we have to keep our eyes open. Early creep tumor on the natural, skipping the inject there.
A hidden factory. So this actually, from Innovation, looks like one of those blue flame hellbatty battle mechy things.
Okay, cool. So make it so it is unscoutable that it is indeed the second factory. I mean, you're going to know something's missing. So we'll have to see. Starport at home does go down. It's delayed, but not too massively. Okay, very cool.
Yeah, this is something we've not seen for a hot minute here. We did see, like speaking of the Asus ROG earlier in the year, where Time had some 2 factory builds that he tried to whip out against Serral. Of course, things were a little bit different back then. And this definitely looks a lot different from Innovation with one of the factories being proxied. Usually it's just very early Cyclones, and you can get Blue Flame as well for the Hellions, which Time certainly did in his series against Serral.
Magfield as well, an option if Roaches hit the field.
Definitely.
Probably not really going to be chosen against Queenling Bane. Doesn't do anything against any of those non-armored units. Unless you can snipe a hatchery, but I think that's hoping for a little bit much at this early point. So yeah, as you said, Blue Flame kicks in there. 3 Hellions building at a time, and you know, the one thing I don't like about this on this map, almost every Zerg player walls off the front of their natural ramp with their Evo and their Baneling Nest or their Roach Warren. There is a creep tumor there right now, just blocking it. But Serral is one who might actually just, you know, kill the creep tumor, get that wall off up. The reason players like this is, I mean, you know it's a Hellion opening. Even if you just think it's one factory, it always makes your life so much easier if you can just defend in front of the third base.
So Serral's Overlord speed opener is usually pretty safe. You usually get to see what's up. His Overlord is actually going to miss this factory. It's so close, but I don't think it'll see it.
Yeah, Overlords are... Oh, he changed it. He changed it. Overlords have the longest vision in the game.
I think we'll be seeing a Roach Warren pretty quickly here from Serral. Yeah. Holding this with just Lings and Queens is so difficult. He might even need some Spine Crawlers. There's that Roach Warren, and these are going to be Hellbats pigs, so it's even scarier than just pure Hellion.
Medevac coming across as well. Could ferry 4 Hellions into the natural or the main, turn them into Hellbats there. Lots of ways this could come about. 3 Marines moving across as well. A huge timing attack, a massive commitment from Innovation. Serral sniffed it out, but he did not have a lot of warning. The Evo Chamber block coming down that I was talking about earlier. I'd love to see it, but I think it's a little late.
I agree with you. I don't even think he'll be able to get that second one as the Hellbats are right here. The Queen's got that Concave, the Ling's waiting for the time to shine, but these are Blue Flame Hellbats.
Those Queens got to get out of there. They've got to pull further back. They've got to just buy their time. They've got to buy time right now. They've got to pull to the right-hand side. Serral individually pulling back Queens, trying to buy as many seconds as he can. Roach production's just started up, but it is not a lot. Only 2 Roaches, 3 adding into the production to have more Queens popping out, and it's all about just buying time. But look at that, Hellions there. Blue Flame Hellions doing damage. There we go. Surrounding individual ones. Effectively nice micro from Serral, but with a Blue Flame, it's so deadly.
9 Roaches are about to pop out here, even though he's taking a lot of damage. He is pulling all those drones away from the Hellbats. Queens are being bled out here from Serral, but all he needs to do is hold. This is committed from Innovation. He's making SCVs back at home. He needs more drone damage than this, and getting the Queens here is a great step for Innovation to take a lead in the earlier start of this game.
More Queens are in production. That's very important, because even once this is done... Yeah, even once this is done, another queen goes down. The medevac's going to be a problem. There's 2 medevacs that can drop on top of these drones. Oh, they're drilling away there, trying to get away from this. Is there a queen in the main base? No anti-air. You see, this is the problem. Even though it's been cleaned up, Innovation has all of the air control. There's no way for the queens to shut down these medevacs.
And a queen at the third base there, but you're absolutely right. Serral is dangerously low on queens. He does get rid of that medevac there, but there's another one that's a thorn in his side. Innovation does have it sort of over the main, but obviously anything there would die pretty quickly to the roaches. He goes to the natural instead. Serral really can't keep up with his medevac until he gets a queen out. A big round of drones there, getting very deep in the red. Innovation gets 3 of them.
And he needs this damage as well. All this lost mining time is very important for Innovation to really slow down Serral. He's just started this 3rd command center. A big swing in of Blue Flame Aliens, but the drones are evacuated well ahead of time. Serral so low on workers.
And he's not out of the woods yet. That medevac coming back, and the main is looking real naked here. Some roaches, but not enough to stop that drone damage. All they just trickle out to the right side, but 5 go down. This kind of damage is really critical here. Innovation in a really good spot.
He's got to defend the main in the natural. Serral right now keeps prioritizing his 3rd, a little bit shaken off this crazy start, this aggression here.
Oh, no. Innovation. He's absolutely everywhere, pew-pewing down drones one at a time. Serral's going for the Nidus Worm here. He doesn't feel like there's a macro game in this for him.
Yeah, that's the right call. I really like that call. He realizes at this point, okay, this is not working out. My economy is so bad right now. I've got to do something desperate. He's building 7 more drones, and behind that will no doubt be non-stop roaches. I think even with that, there is already 5 barracks marine production on the way for Innovation. He's building tanks, and I don't know if Serral has a window.
I don't think so either. He's going to try and get it done anyway. Every win is extremely important here.
Yeah, the window might be closed. Serral's going to take a go at smashing it anyway. I really don't think this has got a great chance to do it.
There's a tank out for Innovation. This just doesn't look good at all. Obviously, Serral, you have to try, but it does not look good.
Oh,
drop in the main base, just making bad things worse here for Serral. Innovation looking incredible to tie up the series.
Such a cute build here. I love this mix-up from Innovation. Scouted just a bit too late there by Serral. He's going to try and come forward with the Roach Ravager. 2 tanks, a bunker, Marines, Hellions with Blue Flame, SCVs pulled to the front as well. The Ravagers there unable to land the Biles because a quick unsiege and dodge there from Innovation.
This is just GG, and there it is. Serral taps out. Innovation with the cheeky Blue Flame 2 factory build, getting himself a win on the board. And I think that this is going to be Innovation's trip to success, because we saw in Game 1 what standard ZVT looks like against this kid.
Serral not rushing Overlord speed super early. He did get it somewhat fast, but it doesn't matter how much you scout the main in natural. If it's out in this odd spot on the map, and Serral, when he goes back and watches that replay, is going to realize he spotted that SCV early on with the Overlord going off in a weird direction. There was no reason for it to be heading off in that direction, but I'm not sure if he noticed it and then forgot about it. Scouted it a little bit late. I also would have loved to see that spine crawler that you talked about. As soon as he spotted it, not just a Roach Warren, think if a spine went down in the natural in the 3rd, that would have been a great anchor for his defense.
If your mobile army is slow and small, static defense is basically your only option. But it's just such a hard call to make when you're under that much pressure on this big of a stage with so much on the line.
A cool build order from Inno, though.
Yeah,
I
really
love
cool.
that. I feel like...
Sorry to all the ladder zergs out there that are watching right now as the Terrans are in chat rubbing their hands together going, oh, this looks like a pretty easy win if we do this one.
It's a sick way to play. I mean, I think there's just been too many of the concussive shell Marauder pushes, right? The Marauder Hellbat push where you unload 4 Marauders out of the medevac, it's been done too many times. It's such a great build order, but this is kind of in the same vein, just a bit different. It looks very different, very hard to scout. Innovation there with a clever game. Ties up the series 1-1.
Speaking of concussive shell, I think he got it, by the way, but it was a fake to try and make Serral think he was going stem. It was like a really big brain move there from Innovation. Speaking of big brains, up at the top left here from Ents Esports, it's the GOAT. He's Serral.
Not pleased with that last game. After this man down here in the bottom right, let's see how many more tricks he has up his sleeve. Representing Kaizi Gaming, it is Innovation. And it doesn't have to all be tricks. Now you've put a little bit of fear into your opponent. There's a lot of other ways you can play this out. And it's not like map 1 was completely one-sided or anything. But Serral's backstab's definitely a little too powerful in that game. And seemed to have a read on Innovation's hard push on the 4th base. We'll have to see if a metagame revolves around that in the standard games. Is Innovation going to back off the initial pressure a little bit more and try to focus more on efficiency and preserving his units for a slightly later push, taking advantage of the moment where Serral's droning? So as much as Serral's looking for when is Innovation going to push me, Innovation's going to be looking for when is Serral just building lots of workers, when is he building lots of army. If I can find the sweet spot where we catch him off guard, building the wrong unit, that's also going to work out very well for Innovation.
So nothing crazy here in the early game for either player, and we're on Simulacrum in this TVZ. This particular map, this particular matchup, talk to us a little bit about it.
Well, I did just actually hear that the bottom right main base of Innovation looks like Australia on the minimap.
You have to zoom out really far for that. Yeah, there you go. Oh.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
It's missing Tasmania, but
yeah, that's all right.
So is the rest of the country. So.
Very fitting we'd be casting this then. Yeah, I mean, it's a map with spread out wide bases. That's what I always talk about, is just the fact that the distance between the natural to the third is massive. Once you get up to 4 or 5 bases, backstabs rule the day. And up to that point, the player who is aggressive often can set up some nice positions. Now, Terran players have struggled hard with large numbers of Ling Bane on this map. There's lots of wide open areas. Tanks find themselves inevitably flanked and surrounded, and that's why players usually do tend towards Widowmine play against the Ling Bane styles that Zerg are using.
And it feels like when you get the natural up as a Zerg, you know, similar to Eternal Empire, want to get some of your structures down there at the front so that run-bys are very difficult. And if the natural is locked down, the main is very safe against Hellions as well.
Yeah.
Control here from Serral, only taking hit point damage on his units, no damage, no actual kills here on that Reaper.
Third base is down there for Serral.
Very quick third CC from Inno.
Yeah, same as map number 1 here. Single gas straight into that. You know, it got him into a decent position in that game. I don't think the opening was wrong. Serral looked very good at how he controlled it. Different map, different game. We'll see how it plays out here. And, of course, keeping eyes on Serral. Now, if Innovation chooses to go for more of a Widowmine style versus the Ling Bane, great versus Mass Ling Bane, especially versus Mutas as well, right? But not so good against Hydras. And Serral, he did showcase some fantastic Hydra usage in the group stage. Really shut down some players with that. And is definitely someone who's shown kind of an ability to